Hey there. Tonight, we wander into the quiet world of trees, those ancient, unmoving giants that somehow breathe, communicate, and live lives far more dramatic than they let on. Picture yourself lying beneath one. Now your back pressed against a cool patch of moss, the faint smell of soil rising in slow waves. You can almost feel the heartbeat of the earth through its roots, pulsing in the dark below. And as we drift through these 100 incredible facts, just remember trees have been here for hundreds of millions of years. You've been here, a few decades, so yeah, you probably won't survive this comparison. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Or if you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. For now, just breathe and tell me where you are listening from and what time it is there. Are you wrapped in a blanket? Maybe it's 2 a.m. and you're waiting for sleep to finally find you. Either way, now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You begin underground, where all stories of trees truly start. Beneath the forest floor lies a world that never sleeps, a vast, tangled city of roots that stretch out like subway lines in every direction. Every root tip hums with tiny exchanges. They send out chemical signals, swap sugars, and whisper electrical impulses to neighbors. Scientists call it the Wood Wide Web. You might laugh at that name, but its accurate roots and fungi literally form an underground internet connecting entire forests into one living organism. Down here, darkness doesn't mean silence. Fungal filaments called mycorrhizae lace between roots, creating trade routes. A maple tree struggling in the shade might borrow carbon from a sun-soaked birch through these threads. Meanwhile, an old cedar quietly sends nutrients to its seedlings as if handing out packed lunches. You can almost imagine an elderly tree muttering, "Eat up, kids, storm season's coming." The mainstream fact here is simple, yet mind-bending. Nearly 90% of all land plants on Earth rely on those fungal partnerships. Without them, forests would collapse in slow motion. The fungi get sugar, the trees get minerals. Everybody wins, except perhaps the poor soil scientist trying to untangle who's feeding whom. But beneath that beautiful cooperation lurks something stranger. Some trees cheat. They take more carbon than they give, tricking the fungi into an unfair exchange. Others act as mafia bosses, hoarding nutrients and deciding which seedlings live or die. This darker side of the Wood Wide Web unsettles researchers. Scientists still argue whether these decisions are deliberate plant intelligence or just chemical coincidence. Personally, I think it's both nature's passive-aggressive way of playing politics. Let your imagination wander deeper. You follow one thick root down into the cool, oxygen-starved clay. You hear faint crackles, tiny electric discharges moving slower than a human thought, but faster than tree sap. It's proof that trees use weak electrical pulses to sense their surroundings. When roots hit a rock, those signals change. When another root brushes past, the pulse shifts again like Morse code whispered through mud. One quirky tidbit: scientists once played recordings of chewing caterpillars near plant roots. The roots responded as if under attack, producing defensive chemicals, even though no insect was actually eating them. That means trees listen in their own strange vibro-acoustic way. So next time you yell at your houseplant for wilting, remember it might actually hear you and silently judge you. There's another mystery underground that feels almost spiritual. Some indigenous cultures believe roots don't just anchor a tree, they connect souls. In the Amazon, shamans describe the forest floor as woven consciousness, where life forms share dreams through fungal threads. Modern science hasn't disproved that. It's just politely avoiding eye contact. As you float in this darkness, you notice something gentle, the smell. That earthy aroma after rain called petrichor isn't just dirt getting wet. It's the byproduct of soil bacteria that trees cultivate around their roots. Those microbes release oils that drift upward when the first raindrops fall, making you sigh with relief before you even know why. Your brain associates it with renewal, but really it's microbial perfume designed to attract new fungal partners. Trees, it turns out, have marketing departments. And roots are far busier than you think. They grow toward the sound of running water, even when blindfolded in a lab. Yes, that experiment exists. Researchers set up speakers underground playing gentle trickling noises, and roots actually grew toward them. It's one of these moments where you realize nature doesn't just follow rules. It writes poetry and chemistry. Now imagine the oldest root systems on Earth, fossilized in stone. Some date back 385 million years, belonging to early tree species like Archaeopteris. These roots spread before dinosaurs ever blinked in the sunlight. They changed the atmosphere, sucking up carbon dioxide and exhaling oxygen until the planet cooled. That was the first planetary climate control system, long before thermostats or Tesla solar roofs. You owe your breathable air to roots that turned rock into soil. The more you think about it, the less you can separate yourself from them. Every breath you take, every molecule of water you drink, has likely passed through a tree root at some point in geological history. You're part of that slow recycling loop, just moving faster and complaining more. There's something oddly comforting in knowing that the ground under your feet is alive. It hums, sighs, and trades favors just like a crowded city. And while we build Wi-Fi networks and call ourselves advanced, trees have been running fiber optics made of fungus since the Devonian period. You can almost hear them chuckle low and deep as they share gossip through the soil. Let's pause here. Feel your body sink a little deeper into your bed, like roots pressing softly into the earth. Imagine the quiet conversations continuing beneath you right now. Thousands of kilometers of living threads stretching beyond sight. Out there, under every forest, the same silent system hums along, unbothered by human noise or deadlines. Somewhere, an oak just shared sugar with a beech. Somewhere else, a birch whispered, "Rain's coming." And the entire grove braced itself. You don't need to move or speak, just know it's happening, this secret conversation below your dreams. You're still lying there, half sunk into the mossy underlayer, and the world above your eyelids begins to tilt upward, following a single root as it becomes trunk. If the roots are the forest's gossip line, the trunk is its time machine, tall and patient, recording every scandal, drought, and thunderstorm in narrow, concentric rings. Each ring is a year, of course, you already knew that, but few people realize how chatty those rings can be. A fat ring tells of generous rain and lazy summers. A thin, compressed one whispers of famine or volcanic haze. Scientists drill pencil-thin cores into old trunks and read them like MRI scans of the planet's memory. When Ice Age glaciers melted, rings widened. When Krakatoa blew, rings shrank worldwide. Your own lifetime somewhere in there is barely a fingernail of wood. Humbling right inside that wooden column, millions of straw-like tubes, xylem and phloem run parallel, moving water up and sugar down in a perfect two-lane traffic system. No pumps, no batteries, just capillary physics so elegant, it makes plumbing engineers cry. Some redwoods lift water 350 feet against gravity using nothing more than surface tension and morning hope. That's the mainstream science fact here. A redwood's vascular pull can equal the suction of a high-end vacuum cleaner, only quieter. And still weirdness creeps in. A few trees form reaction wood, a kind of muscular tissue that bulks up on one side whenever wind or slope tries to topple them. Imagine if your biceps grew every time you leaned wrong in your chair. Foresters call it compression wood, in conifers, tension wood, in hardwoods, proof that trunks don't just stand there. They fight gravity like yoga masters mid-pose. You might tap your fingers against the bark and wonder how alive that outer layer truly is. Only the thin cambium ring right beneath the bark is living. Everything deeper is essentially beautifully organized. Corpse-dead cells arranged into scaffolding strong enough to hold up neighborhoods of squirrels. So yes, every wooden table you've ever owned is a polite fossil. One fringe tidbit still divides botanists: the faint clicking sound some trunks emit on dry days. When sap tension grows, extreme microscopic bubbles form and pop, producing audible pings. To some researchers, it's purely hydraulic. To others, it's the tree's stress language. A Morse code of thirst. Scientists still argue whether these acoustic pulses count as communication or just the plant equivalent of a knee crack. Run your mental fingers over bark textures, now smooth beech, flaky birch, crocodile-skinned pine. Bark isn't decoration, it's armor. Its chemistry can repel insects, reflect sunlight, even insulate against fire. The cork oak's bark grows thick enough to harvest wine bottle stoppers every decade without harming the tree. That's regeneration on a schedule even corporate HR would envy. But trunks do more than hold branches and fend off beetles. They store time. Deep in the heartwood resins and tannins, preserve the chemical record of ancient air. When scientists analyze trapped bubbles, they can reconstruct the CO2 levels of centuries past. It's like finding tiny climate diaries sealed in amber. And yes, sometimes the entries read, "Dear future humans, you're overdoing it again." Imagine yourself shrinking small enough to slip between those rings. You'd pass through light and dark bands, like alternating summer and winter, hear faint pops as cells fill with sap. There's a woody heartbeat here, slow, resonant, steady. Each pulse is driven by sunlight hours away, evaporating moisture from leaves and tugging water upward in invisible ropes. That upward pull is relentless. Even at night, the trunk never truly rests. Its size expands, contracts, as if dreaming of rain. Of course, trees can have bad dreams too. Lightning scars spiral down their bark like tattoos. Some trunks heal over others, split forever, their interiors charred, but somehow alive. It's almost petty resilience. Nice try, thunder god, but I'm keeping my upper branches. Forest ecologists once found a pine still transporting sap despite losing 95% of its bark in a wildfire. If determination had a mascot, it would be a scorched, pine-flipping nature, the gentlest possible bird. Now drift back to the concept of growth rings again. Because not all trees follow the rule book. In tropical rainforests, where seasons barely change, many species grow without distinct rings. Their wood is a continuous gradient, making dendrochronologists lose sleep. Scientists still debate how to date such trees. Some use isotopes, some use poetic guesswork. It's like trying to age a cloud by its fluffiness. Let's throw in a little everyday observation. Next time you see a tree that leans slightly over a stream, notice the curve at its base. That swoop records decades of micro-adjustments. Trunks remember every storm, every kid who tried to climb them, every beaver that gnawed too close. Memory carved not in neurons, but in cellulose. And speaking of memory, here's a secret you can borrow for your next trivia night. The sound speed through wood varies with its moisture content. Acousticians use that to estimate how hydrated a living tree is, like a wellness influencer with a stethoscope. They even shoot ultrasound into trunks to detect rot tree MRI, basically. One university group jokingly calls it arbor therapy. Imagine trees on a couch. So tell me, when did the root rot begin? Humor aside, the trunk is a biography in solid form. It chronicles patience at a rate of maybe an inch a decade. And when you trace your palm along its surface, you touch the present chapter of a story that started before you were born. Somewhere inside that column, rain from the year you learned to ride a bike is still trapped in microscopic vessels sealed forever. You tilt your head back. The trunk narrows, vanishing into canopy. From below, the movement of branches looks slow, but never still. Wind turns each bough into an instrument string, flexing wood that can both bend and remember its original shape. There's resilience coated in lignin, that magical polymer giving trees their stiffness. Human engineers copy it in carbon fiber designs and still can't match its ratio of strength to weight. The next skyscraper you see owes its skeleton to some forest ancestor that learned structural efficiency the slow way. Take one more breath, that faint woody scent in the air. It's volatile organic compounds, tiny airborne molecules trees release constantly. They protect against pests, attract pollinators, and coincidentally make you feel relaxed. So yes, when people say forest therapy, it's not mystical nonsense. You're literally inhaling biochemical chill pills. As your eyes grow heavy, the rings blur together. Years collapsing into a soft wooden hum. If you pressed your ear to the trunk, maybe you'd hear time itself creaking softly upward, climbing toward the stars. You stay there half aware, the trunk still looming above you, as your attention drifts upward into its leaves, the forest's lungs. A breeze brushes through, and suddenly the air feels cooler, charged with something clean. This is where every breath you've ever taken secretly begins. Trees inhale what you exhale, and exhale what you need. It's the ultimate partnership, no contract required. Each leaf is a solar panel no thicker than paper packed with microscopic engines called chloroplasts. They spin sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide into sugar and oxygen. A chemical ballet called photosynthesis. That's your mainstream fact tonight. Every year, trees pump out roughly 260 billion tons of oxygen into Earth's atmosphere. So if you've ever bragged about breathing mountain air, remember it's tree exhaust you're enjoying. But the real wonder is how smartly they breathe. On the underside of each leaf, tiny pores called stomata open and close, depending on humidity, temperature, and even time of day. It's as if each leaf carries its own schedule, sighing open at dawn and quietly sealing at dusk. Trees don't waste a molecule if they can help it. They're basically the introverts of the natural world, efficient, quiet, and deeply allergic to drama. Now for the quirky twist. Some trees can actually smell. Not like sniffing coffee beans at a barista contest, but chemically sensing changes in the air. A birch that detects high ozone or smoke doesn't panic, it adjusts. It tweaks the concentration of protective compounds in its leaves, like applying a sunscreen that doubles as bug spray. Scientists have documented leaves releasing isoprene molecules to stabilize their own membranes when they overheat. In plain terms, the tree makes its own coolant. Meanwhile, you're still looking for your air conditioner remote. There's another invisible show happening up there: micro airflows. You'd think a leaf's job ends with photosynthesis, but it's also an architect of wind. As air passes through layers of branches, each leaf slows and swirls it just enough to distribute temperature evenly. Walk from a sunny clearing into a forest and feel that instant drop of a few degrees. That's billions of tiny green fans at work. Still, even this perfect system has debates brewing under it. Scientists still argue whether trees can truly decide how to balance gas exchange and water loss, or if it's just automatic chemistry. Some evidence hints that trees can anticipate drought, tightening their stomata before the soil even dries. If that's true, then plants might have a kind of predictive awareness, primitive foresight. Imagine being able to sense next month's water bill through your skin. Now think about scale. A single mature oak might carry 250,000 leaves. Multiply that across a forest, and you're staring at billions of solar panels cleaning the sky in silence. The entire Amazon releases so much water vapor, it creates its own clouds, literal weather-making lungs. When you hear rain start to fall deep in the forest, odds are the forest summoned it. Trees breathe moisture up, the sky returns it down. It's the planet's slowest, most beautiful conversation. There's something else trees exhale that you can actually feel phytoncides. These are aromatic compounds, pine, cedar, cypress, that drift through the air, acting as natural antibiotics and immune boosters for animals and humans alike. It's why forest air smells healing. One study found people's white blood cell activity increases after a walk in pine woods. So when someone says, "Go touch grass," they're giving surprisingly solid medical advice. And then there's carbon. Everyone talks about carbon storage like trees are warehouses, but really they're accountants, every trunk, branch, and leaf balancing an endless budget. During the day, they store; at night, they spend releasing a little CO2 as they respire. The math is never perfect, and that's the point. The forest doesn't need perfection. It thrives on exchange. Here's a fringe fact that might tickle your sleepy brain. Some researchers believe that trees adjust the shape of their leaves to create low-frequency sounds, vibrations, imperceptible to humans, but audible to bats and insects. They call it bioacoustic morphology. And while it's still speculative, the theory suggests that trees might use sound to attract pollinators or warn neighbors. So technically, yes, forests could be whispering bass lines to the night. Look closer in your imagination. The leaf veins resemble tiny rivers carrying sap like blood. If you could zoom in far enough, you'd see molecules of chlorophyll absorbing sunlight, kicking out excited electrons and handing them off in a chain reaction that powers the planet. It's quantum-level magic happening in your backyard. Scientists describe it clinically. Poets would call it photosynthetic sorcery. One of the most debated questions in botany remains deceptively simple. Why are most leaves green? Chlorophyll absorbs red and blue light, but reflects green, meaning trees reject the color you see. It's like they're saying, you can have the leftovers. Some scientists suspect that long ago, green was an evolutionary compromise between efficiency and stability. Others think it's cosmic coincidence. Either way, your entire visual experience of nature, the color that calms your mind, is essentially what trees don't want. Now picture autumn. Chlorophyll retreats, revealing yellows, oranges, purples, pigments that were there all along, hiding under that green curtain. It's like nature's quiet encore before winter's hush. Even the falling of leaves is engineered elegance. A thin abscission layer forms, gently severing each petiole, so it drifts down without tearing. Every leaf you've ever crushed underfoot was, in a way, a farewell letter. There's humor in how human our metaphors become when we talk about trees. We say they breathe, eat, sleep. But maybe that's fair. You breathe fast, they breathe slow. You blink, they photosynthesize. Different tempos, same rhythm. Imagine now that all those leaves above you are exhaling at once. The air grows thick with oxygen, scented faintly with resin and dew. Somewhere, a small moth rests on the underside of a leaf, unaware it's sitting atop a living engine the size of a skyscraper. The forest sighs, the world exhales, and you feel your lungs match that rhythm. Take one more slow breath. The oxygen that fills you might have come from a pine in Canada or mangrove in Thailand. The molecules don't care who they serve. They drift across oceans, entering and leaving bodies century after century. The trees don't mind either. They just keep breathing endlessly patient while you drift one breath closer to sleep. You're breathing in rhythm with the forest now, each inhale rising into the canopy where 1,000 quiet conversations are happening without a single sound you can hear. The night air hums with invisible messages. This is where trees start talking, not in words, but in chemistry, electricity, and scent. You thought silence meant stillness, but in a forest, silence means information is moving faster than gossip in a small town. The mainstream science here is astonishing. When one tree is attacked by insects, it sends out airborne warning chemicals, volatile organic compounds, that drift through the air to neighboring trees. Within minutes, those neighbors start producing bitter compounds in their leaves, making them less appetizing to the pests. It's a real heads up something's eating us moment. The acacia trees of Africa do this spectacularly. When giraffes begin munching, the trees release ethylene gas that travels downwind, warning others to flood their leaves with toxins. Giraffes, no fools themselves, quickly learn to walk upwind for their next snack. Nature's chessboard has no slackers, but beneath the bark another form of communication hums. Roots exchange electric impulses that can measure up to 45 volts in large trees, about as much as a dying smartphone. Scientists have tracked waves of voltage rippling across root systems after damage, like a slow electrical cry. Is that pain, conscious distress? Scientists still argue whether those electrical patterns are primitive awareness or just mechanical reactions. Either way, you're lying under a living telegraph system. And the most bizarre part, trees can distinguish self from other. Experiments show that seedlings recognize the chemical signature of their own family roots and adjust their growth to avoid competition. That's right. They don't hog nutrients from their siblings. Meanwhile, humans fight over who gets the last slice of pizza. Here's a quirky tidbit you probably didn't expect. Some researchers once hooked electrodes to a philodendron and played it recordings of people lying or telling the truth. The plant's electrical responses changed more when it heard deception. enough for one scientist to nickname it the polygraph plant. Fringe, definitely. But it kicked off decades of odd experiments exploring whether plants might detect emotional energy. Nothing conclusive yet, though maybe that's just because they're too polite to tell us what they know. Step into your imagination. You're drifting up through the leaves, invisible, weightless. You watch an oak release invisible puffs of scent, not perfume but coded chemicals. One signals wasp allies that an army of caterpillars has arrived. Within hours, the wasps swoop in and lay eggs inside the intruders. It's brutal pest control outsourced with elegance. Somewhere, a walnut tree nearby eavesdrops, detects the signal and quietly starts making the same chemicals, just in case. It's like neighbors texting each other. Lock your doors. Trouble on Maple Street. Even their sense of timing is uncanny. Trees know when dawn is coming before the first light touches them. They adjust their sap flow water uptake even gene expression hours in advance. There's a slow intelligence here, one that doesn't need eyes or ears. Scientists call it circadian rhythm. You call it my internal clock. The forest has one too, just tuned to millennia instead of minutes. Imagine now a grove of aspens. They may look like individual trees, but many are one single organism connected by roots. Clones of each other, sharing everything. The largest of these, nicknamed Pando in Utah, covers 106 acres and weighs more than 6,000 tons. It's arguably the heaviest living thing on Earth. And when one part of it feels drought, the signal spreads underground, adjusting water use across the entire forest. It's cooperation on a scale that makes our Wi-Fi look like dial-up. But here's where the forest edges toward science fiction. Researchers have recorded low-frequency sound vibrations, under 20 hertz, traveling through tree roots. Some plants appear to grow toward those vibrations as if drawn by another tree's voice. If confirmed, it means trees might literally hum to each other in tones too low for us to hear. Picture that a nocturnal concert played through soil and wood. Somewhere under you right now, a cedar might be singing a duet with a birch. And yet, not all communication is friendly. Black walnut trees release juglone, a toxin that suppresses neighboring plants. The botanical version of "stay off my lawn." Eucalyptus do it too, dropping oily leaves that poison the soil for rivals. Cooperation and competition perfectly balanced, like old philosophers playing chess with sunlight and rainwater. If you were to wander through a rainforest at night, the kind where humidity feels like breathing through velvet, you'd smell dozens of plant messages layered in the air. Some trees emit sweet pheromone-like scents to lure bats or moths. Others release alarm chemicals when roots sense vibration from approaching footsteps. There's one study that even suggests corn plants can detect the specific vibrations of chewing caterpillars and respond faster than to random noise. Yes, they know the sound of being eaten. Imagine how much sensory information pulses through a single acre of forest every second. Scents, vibrations, chemical signatures, light, changes, moisture waves. It's a language we barely recognize, let alone understand. And the best part, it never stops, even when you sleep. The forest keeps talking long after the last hiker leaves. Think back to that first underground network we visited, the Wood Wide Web. Now imagine those fungal cables, not just sending nutrients, but encoding messages: distress, drought, abundance. Some researchers call this plant cognition. Others roll their eyes and say nonsense. The debate continues in hushed academic conferences somewhere between botany and philosophy. But whether you call it intelligence or instinct, the result is the same: a connected awareness spanning continents. So as you lie there, half awake, half in dream, remember every rustle of leaves above you might be a conversation, every gust of wind a message carried from miles away. You're listening to the slowest language in the world, one that speaks in days, not syllables. The forest doesn't need words, it just needs time. Take a deep breath. Feel that slight sweetness in the air. That's the forest saying good night, exhaling after a long day of invisible chatter. Somewhere nearby, a pine and a spruce are exchanging bedtime signals, and you're the lucky eavesdropper. The whispers of the forest fade into a hum, and you drift farther along the canopy past the gossiping leaves and murmuring branches into the realm of survival. Trees aren't fragile wallflowers. They are the world's most adaptable engineered shapeshifters that bend, twist, and rewrite their own biology just to keep breathing. Tonight, you'll meet some of nature's most creative problem solvers, the ones that live where no sane plant should. Take mangroves, for instance. They stand knee-deep in saltwater roots, tangled like wet hair, waving in tides that would drown most species within minutes. Yet there they are, alive, thriving, and looking smug about it. The mainstream science here: mangroves use salt-excluding roots that filter out seawater, keeping their inner tissues as fresh as bottled spring. Some species even excrete excess salt through special pores on their leaves. Tiny desalination plants, running 24/7. They literally sweat salt. Imagine if your skin could filter ocean water into drinking water. Humanity would have solved half its problems already. And then there's the baobab, Africa's upside-down tree. Its swollen trunk stores thousands of liters of water, enough to survive years of drought. Locals call it the tree of life. And for good reason. Its bark provides rope, its fruit provides vitamin C, and its hollow trunks sometimes serve as homes. One ancient baobab was big enough to host a bar inside. Picture sipping a drink under flickering candles, the wood around you quietly holding 1,000 years of rain. High in colder realms, pines and spruces rewrite physics in their favor. Their needle-shaped leaves minimize water loss and shed snow like fur, while antifreeze-like resins keep cells from bursting in freezing temperatures. If you've ever trudged through a snowstorm and seen a pine standing firm, that's not bravery, it's chemistry. The trees simply adjust the viscosity of their sap to keep flowing when the world outside turns solid. And yes, scientists still argue whether this sap flow during freezing weather counts as active metabolism or a sort of semi-hibernation. The truth likely lies in between, proving again that nature refuses to fit neatly in any human definition. Some trees take adaptation to absolute extremes. In Australia, eucalyptus trees have evolved oils that are so flammable they actually encourage fire. Why? Because after a blaze wipes out competitors, eucalyptus seeds sprout first. They've turned disaster into a business model. And in the savannas, acacias develop hollow thorns that double as ant housing. The ants defend their landlord, attacking anything that dares nibble a leaf, including occasionally curious scientists. Mutualism, but with more bite marks. Here's a quirky little gem: the resurrection tree Myrothamnus flabellafolia of southern Africa can lose 95% of its water and look completely dead for months, crispy brown, lifeless. Then with a single rain shower, it greens up within hours like pressing resume on life. The secret specialized sugars and proteins that lock cells into suspended animation. NASA has studied it for clues to preserve tissues for space travel. Meanwhile, your houseplant panics if you forget to water it for 2 days. Travel now in your mind to alpine cliffs, where gnarled junipers cling to rock faces with roots thinner than shoelaces. They grow slower than glaciers, twisted by centuries of wind, yet somehow still bear cones. The air is thin, the soil non-existent, but these trees keep going. They bend so gracefully, they seem to be laughing at gravity. Adapt or die isn't a threat here. It's a lullaby sung in chlorophyll. And not all adaptations are visible. Some trees tune their leaf shapes to local light angles. Others alter root chemistry to extract scarce minerals. In nutrient-poor Amazonian soil, certain species partner with bacteria that can capture nitrogen from the air. A few even cultivate gardens of algae inside their bark to harvest extra carbon. It's like having an indoor greenhouse built into your skin. But even the cleverest adaptations come with mystery. For instance, mangroves often grow their seeds while still attached to the parent tree, a process called vivipary. The seed sprouts into a green spear that eventually drops into the mud, already alive and ready to root. Scientists still debate whether this counts as a form of parental care in plants. I mean, the tree is basically saying, "Here, kid, I'll germinate you myself so you don't mess it up." Overprotective much. There's another trick in desserts, the mesquite. Its taproot can dive more than 150 feet into the ground, deeper than a 10-story building, just to find water. It's like the plant equivalent of stubborn optimism. And when that water finally reaches the surface through transpiration, it humidifies the local air enough to help clouds form. That's right, some trees literally seed their own rain. You can feel the rhythm now, trees adapting not just to survive, but to reshape their environment. Salt water becomes drinkable fire, becomes fertilizer drought, becomes nap time. If trees had philosophers, they'd probably preach something like, "All suffering is seasonal." But adaptation isn't just about endurance, it's about timing. Some temperate trees predict winter weeks before the first frost, triggered by subtle changes in daylight length. They withdraw nutrients from leaf store starches and roots and form protective buds, preparing months in advance, like doomsday preppers with chlorophyll. It's not guesswork. It's an ancient calendar coded in DNA. Still, the forest doesn't always get it right. A warm spell in February can trick a tree into blooming early, only for a cold snap to kill the blossom. It's a cruel reminder that adaptation is a constant negotiation, not a final victory. Scientists still argue how quickly trees can evolve new timing mechanisms in a changing climate. Can they keep up with our chaos? No one knows. Pause now and picture this mosaic of resilience: mangroves breathing through salt-streaked roots, baobabs holding ancient rain in swollen bellies, pines whispering through snow. Every continent, every climate, a different solution. It's like a billion slow experiments running at once. No laboratories, no patents, just quiet genius. And as you think about that, a small realization slips in like moonlight through branches. Maybe adaptation isn't about winning. Maybe it's just about continuing slowly, quietly, beautifully against impossible odds. The trees figured that out eons ago. We're still catching up. You follow that thought upward, rising past the twisting forms of mangroves and the sun-bloated bellies of baobabs, until the air thins and cools. Up here in the kingdom of giants, the wind hums a low hymn through needles and branches, that could cradle whales. These are the world's skyscrapers made of wood, the redwoods, sequoias, and mountain ashes that pierce clouds and tickle passing fog. The mainstream science here is easy to say, but hard to believe. The tallest trees on Earth, Sequoia sempervirens, can soar over 380 feet taller than the Statue of Liberty, and about as heavy as 50 blue whales. Their roots, though, go down only about 12 feet. The trick, they don't stand alone. Redwood roots interlock, fusing underground in massive supportive webs. Individually fragile, collectively unstoppable. It's the forest's quiet manifesto: together or not at all. Imagine standing at the base of one. The bark feels like old suede, soft yet tough, and it's laced with tannins that resist insects, fungi, and even fire. You tap it, and the sound doesn't echo, it absorbs. Every vibration swallowed by centuries of cellulose. It's a cathedral that hums instead of rings. Inside, millions of xylem tubes pump water upward, an impossible elevator, powered only by sunlight and cohesion. Scientists still debate exactly how water climbs that high without collapsing under its own weight. The cohesion tension theory says that evaporation from leaves creates negative pressure strong enough to pull water up like a straw, one molecule linking to the next. But at 300 feet, the physics gets sketchy. Some researchers suspect redwoods might generate microscopic pumps in leaf tissues to assist the lift. Others say fog water absorbed directly through leaves helps reduce the burden. The argument continues, quiet, nerdy, and surprisingly fierce. Climb higher in your imagination, past where the air tastes like iron and cedar. A whole hidden world unfolds in the canopy ferns, mosses, even tiny salamanders living their entire lives without touching the ground. Scientists once found a full ecosystem 250 feet above the forest floor: soil insects and miniature trees growing on the backs of giants. These aren't just trees. They're continents suspended in air. And yet the redwoods aren't even the bulkiest. That title belongs to the giant sequoia, Sequoiadendron giganteum, found in California's Sierra Nevada. The largest of them, nicknamed General Sherman, weighs about 2.7 million pounds. You could hollow it out and still have room to park 30 cars. But don't. It deserves better. You might expect something that large to be slow, inert, ancient. But here's the twist. Sequoias grow fast, really fast, adding a foot of wood in circumference every year during their youth. A single summer can produce enough cellulose to build a small house. When they die, they don't rot easily. Their bark contains natural fire retardants and antibiotics. Some fallen giants linger for centuries before crumbling into the soil. Ashes to ashes doesn't really apply. More like timber to eternity. Now lean closer to one of these trunks in your mind and listen. You'll hear clicks, pops, the faint groan of wood expanding with temperature changes. Inside, the heartwood contracts at night and swells by day, a wooden heartbeat powered by sunlight. And that smell, deep and resinous, those volatile oils ward off decay and discourage fungus. It's the tree's version of cologne and bug spray combined. Practical and charming. But perhaps the most awe-inspiring part is that these giants create their own weather. Redwoods pull moisture from fog, condensing droplets that drip down to water the forest below. During drought, this fog drip can supply up to 40% of the forest's water needs. In essence, they make rain. So when the mist rolls in from the Pacific, it's not just scenery. It's irrigation orchestrated by trees taller than your ambitions. Let's wander to another continent for a moment, the eucalyptus forests of Tasmania. There, the mountain ash rivals redwoods in height and carries trunks smooth and silver, shining like moonlight. Their branches start so high, you could forget they exist. When lightning strikes one, the bark strips away in ribbons, revealing clean wood beneath like polished bone. The indigenous Palawa people once used these trees as natural compasses. The moss always grows thickest on the south side. Navigation by botany, a trick every traveler should envy. Here's a fringe fact for your sleepy brain. Some giant trees share nutrients with smaller neighbors of different species. Through those underground fungal networks, they send carbon not just to kin, but to strangers. It's as if redwoods pay forest taxes, redistributing wealth across the ecosystem. Scientists still argue why altruism accident or ecological necessity. Whatever the reason, it's proof that even giants understand community. Now picture climbing one in slow motion, your hand sliding across bark that's seen more storms than empires. The air cools, the light turns emerald, and you start noticing epiphytes, ferns nesting in grooves, orchids hanging like jewelry. Each branch up here could be the size of your living room, covered in moss soft enough to sleep on. Tiny frogs hide in water pockets, birds nest where clouds brush the treetops, and you feel impossibly small, yet deeply connected. In this moment, you understand why some scientists describe old-growth forests as vertical oceans. The trunks are currents, the branches reefs, the wildlife, the drifting schools of this green sea. Every level teems with life, yet everything depends on the steady heartbeat of wood rising from the ground below. And while you're lost in that thought, one last image roots itself in your mind, fog curling through the canopy dew, sliding down bark gravity, pulling moisture back to the roots. It's a perfect loop, a hydraulic miracle so balanced that even the tallest trees never grow beyond their limits. Nature knows when to stop something humans are still working on. Take another slow breath and imagine the weight of centuries pressing gently above you. Somewhere high in the dark, a redwood leaf catches a single drop of water, holds it for a heartbeat, then lets it fall. It lands in the soil beside you, time recycled. You stay up there balanced between sky and bark when the wind shifts. And suddenly the forest feels older, heavier. You're no longer among growing titans, but among witnesses. These are the elders of earth trees that have seen glaciers retreat, empires rise, and oceans rearrange their shores. They've lived so long that time itself seems to move around them like a polite guest. The mainstream fact here is enough to scramble your sense of scale. The oldest known tree, a bristlecone pine named Methuselah, has lived for about 850 years. That means it was already a sapling when the Egyptian pyramids were under construction. Think about that. While humans invented writing calendars, religion, and the idea of breakfast, this pine just stood there. Patient photosynthesizing, unbothered by our drama. You picture it now, gnarled, silver gray, half dead, but wholly alive, clinging to a rocky slope in California's White Mountains. Its bark looks like ancient leather twisted into ribbons by centuries of ice and wind. Each curve is a scar, each knot a story. And despite its ghostly appearance, a single strip of living tissue still carries sap from root to twig. The rest is time fossilized in wood. Here's the irony: these Methuselah trees live so long not because their environment is kind, but because it's brutal. The thin air, freezing nights, and barren soil mean fewer fungi, fewer insects, fewer competitors. Survival by subtraction. The harsher the home, the longer the peace. There's poetry in that. Another ancient line, the yew thrives in European churchyards, some over 2,000 years old. They were already towering when Rome's legions marched through Britain. The yew's wood is elastic yet strong, perfect for medieval longbows. Ironically, the same species that armed wars also guarded graves. Even stranger, its roots often absorb bones buried beneath it, turning human calcium into living branches. You could say yews quite literally carry ancestors in their veins. Scientists still argue how to define age in such trees. Many grow new trunks from ancient roots or merge into clones. Is that one life or many? There's a Norwegian spruce called Old Chico that's genetically 9 to 500 years old, though its visible trunk is much younger. The tree you see is just the latest version of itself, generation layered upon generation, like copies passed down through time. The forest's version of reincarnation. Now imagine walking through an ancient grove at dusk. The light thins, but the silence thickens. Each trunk leans slightly, not from age, but from wisdom, like monks bending in prayer. You reach out to touch one, and the bark flakes under your palm dust that might predate your civilization. It smells faintly sweet, resinous familiar. That scent is terpene, a chemical signature almost unchanged in 200 million years. Dinosaurs smelled the same perfume before they vanished. There's a fringe theory that trees this old might accumulate electrical memory, tiny, long-lasting charge differences that affect how they respond to weather cycles. It's unproven, but some researchers swear they've recorded patterns of voltage that repeat every few centuries. If true, then old trees might literally remember storms. It's a romantic idea, maybe too romantic, but you can't help picturing Methuselah humming softly, replaying ancient thunder in its cells. And yet, even immortals fall. Some of the great baobabs of Africa have collapsed in recent decades, victims of drought and heat. These were trees that had outlived kingdoms only to succumb in a single hot summer. One researcher compared the event to cathedrals crumbling overnight. The sadness hits differently, because when an old tree dies, it doesn't just fall, it erases a timeline. The rings end. The history stops mid-sentence. But the forest, ever practical, wastes nothing. Even in death, those giants feed new roots, fungi, insects, and soil. Their carbon returns to the atmosphere, later reborn in saplings that rise from their shadows. A tree might die, but its atoms stay in circulation for millennia. Some of that carbon right now could be inside you. Maybe that's why standing near ancient trees feels spiritual. They're relatives you didn't know you had. Here's a quirky fact. The Japanese word shinrin-yoku means forest bathing, a practice of walking slowly through trees to reduce stress. Science backs it up. Being near old-growth forests lowers cortisol levels, improves heart rate, even boosts immune function. You don't have to hug a tree to feel its pulse. Just stand still long enough, and your nervous system tunes to its tempo. You recall an image from earlier, a redwood's heartwood expanding and contracting like a slow pulse. Imagine that same rhythm here stretched across thousands of years. Old trees live in geological time where seasons are seconds and centuries are sighs. They don't hurry and they don't despair. They just are. Maybe that's the secret to longevity: radical patience. Scientists are still puzzled by another question: why trees don't seem to age in the way animals do. Their cells can keep dividing indefinitely, repairing damage and regenerating tissues without hitting the same genetic limits we face. In theory, a tree could live forever if nothing external kills it. Maybe immortality is less about magic and more about not making self-destructive choices, something humanity might want to jot down. Let your mind drift back to Methuselah for a moment. Snowdrift between its twisted root stars hang cold above, and the wind that brushes its needles is the same one that touched ancient Egypt's stone. It doesn't complain, it doesn't celebrate. It simply endures, a wooden time capsule humming softly beneath the cosmos. And as your eyelids grow heavy, you realize that endurance has its own kind of music. Oh, a low ancient note that says, "I've seen worse storms, and yet I'm still here." Maybe that's all trees ever say. Maybe that's all we need to hear. You drift down from the ancient groves back toward the hum of cities and the flicker of streetlights. The forest thins and concrete begins to replace moss. But even here, surrounded by glass and engines, trees persist. Stoic sentinels tucked into sidewalk cracks, park corners, and backyard fences. They don't complain about exhaust fumes or Wi-Fi signals. They just keep breathing, filtering, and growing quietly while the rest of us scroll through chaos. City trees are the unsung heroes of modern life. The mainstream science is straightforward. A single mature street tree can absorb up to 150 kilograms of carbon dioxide each year and filter out thousands of airborne pollutants like ozone nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxide. Their leaves act like living air purifiers, capturing particulate matter from car exhaust, dust, soot, and microplastics, and holding it until rain washes it away. You may curse the fallen leaves in autumn, but those same leaves likely prevented a few extra coughs this week. Yet in the city, their job is harder. Roots trapped beneath pavement must navigate a labyrinth of pipes and foundations. Rainwater drains away too quickly. Heat radiates from asphalt like an oven. Still, the trees adapt. They grow shallow, spread wide, and find any gap to breathe. Urban ecologists call this root opportunism. You might call it stubborn brilliance. Look around next time you're downtown. That skinny maple beside the bus stop, it's performing climate control. Trees can cool city streets by as much as 9F5C through shade and evaporation. When you step under their canopy on a hot day and feel instant relief, you're standing inside a natural air conditioner powered by sunlight and sap. A small miracle you never paid for. And here's a quirky truth. Trees in cities change how people behave. Studies show neighborhoods with more tree cover have lower crime rates and higher social trust. No one's entirely sure why. Maybe cooler temperatures reduce aggression, or maybe people subconsciously mirror the calmness of green space. Either way, plant a few oaks and humanity seems to behave slightly better. There's a policy idea worth revisiting. But the city trees aren't just social workers. They're survivors of architectural warfare. Branches get trimmed into absurd cubes to dodge power lines. Roots are cut for sidewalks. Yet somehow they still bloom each spring. You could chop half their limbs off, and they'd quietly reroute nutrients, sprouting new buds like "nice try." Scientists still argue how trees sense damage and redirect energy so efficiently. Some think it's hormonal signaling. Others suggest internal pressure waves travel faster than we can measure. Whatever it is, it works. Step closer in your imagination to one of those big city plane trees. The bark peels in mottled flakes of gray and cream, revealing fresh green beneath. Camouflage for pollution. The tree literally sheds its outer skin to dump contaminants. It's the arboreal equivalent of taking a deep shower every few months. Even the ginkgo, that ancient species from the age of dinosaurs, thrives in choking smog and freezing winters. Its secret fan-shaped leaves coated in wax that repels soot like rain off glass. Evolution's version of a self-cleaning window. One fringe tidbit still amazes urban ecologists. The sound of wind through tree canopies reduces human stress levels, even when played through speakers. The frequency spectrum of rustling leaves, mostly between 200 and 800 hertz, triggers relaxation responses in the brain. So, yes, even recordings of trees can lower blood pressure. If Netflix ever releases the Russell Channel, I'll be first to subscribe. Now glance down. Streetlights cast amber halos across asphalt, and shadows of branches ripple like slow water. Those shadows aren't random, they're living fractals. The same branching patterns appear in lungs, rivers, lightning. Everywhere life needs efficiency. Each split optimizes flow, whether for air, blood, or sap. You and that city oak share the same mathematical blueprint, just drawn in different mediums. The irony, of course, is that trees made cities possible in the first place. Wood built the scaffolds of early civilizations, fueled furnaces, and shaped ships that explored the planet. And now, centuries later, their descendants stand outside office towers built from steel. Like parents quietly watching their overachieving children forget where they came from. Scientists still argue how to quantify the mental health value of trees. Some estimate that a single park with 100 mature trees can generate millions of dollars worth of psychological benefit annually. Calmer moods, lower anxiety, improved sleep. But how do you put a price on breathing easier? You can't not really. You can only notice how your shoulders drop when you step into shade. Picture it now, you walking down an empty street at midnight. Neon signs flicker, cars hiss by, and above it all, the leaves move like slow applause. You feel a small comfort, a reminder that life continues even in the noise. The trees have seen every version of this city: horse carts, Model Ts, Uber scooters. They've outlived mayors and fads, and they'll probably outlive you too. One last fact before you close your eyes: scientists discovered that city trees can recognize traffic patterns. Their stomata open wider at night when emissions drop, maximizing photosynthesis efficiency under streetlight glow. They've adapted to the rhythm of human activity, syncing their metabolism with rush hour like green commuters who never get tired. So tonight, when you pass that lone oak by the crosswalk, or the palm standing proudly in a parking lot, maybe whisper a quiet thank you. They're not here for applause. They're here because someone long ago thought a patch of shade might be nice. And because nature, stubborn as ever, refuses to be fenced out by civilization. You breathe out slowly. The hiss of tires fades, the wind softens, and for a brief moment the whole city feels alive. Not built, but growing. The city hum fades behind you, now replaced by something older than pavement and more enduring than steel: belief. Every culture that ever looked at a tree saw more than wood and leaves. They saw connection between sky and soil gods, and mortal's life and whatever comes after. Tonight, you drift through the spiritual forest, where roots become mythology and bark holds the fingerprints of eternity. The mainstream fact here is simple, yet profound: trees appear in nearly every creation story humans have ever told. From the Norse Yggdrasil to the biblical tree of knowledge, from the Bodhi tree under which Buddha reached enlightenment to the African sycamores said to house ancestral spirits. Humanity has always placed wisdom, temptation, and immortality among the branches. You could say trees were our first temples long before anyone carved stone. Start in the frozen north under auroras that shimmer like ghost fires. There stands Yggdrasil, the world tree of Norse myth. An ash so vast, its roots and branches connect all realms, gods above, humans in the middle, the dead below. Each day it hosts battles, births, and prophecies. When it trembles, the cosmos itself shivers. You imagine standing beneath it, watching the serpent NHGR gnaw its roots while an eagle perches in its crown. Life and decay in constant conversation. Familiar, isn't it? Travel south now to the deserts of Mesopotamia. There the Sumerians believed a divine date palm stood at the center of paradise, guarded by spirits and dripping with symbols of fertility. Later in the Hebrew tradition, the tree of knowledge tested humanity's obedience, while the tree of life promised eternity. Two sides of the same root system. Wisdom and consequence intertwined like vines. It's almost comforting that even gods couldn't resist using a good tree metaphor. In ancient Egypt, sycamores lined the paths to the afterlife. The goddess Hathor was said to emerge from their trunks to offer travelers food and water for the journey beyond death. Imagine that. Salvation through shade. You can't help picturing how many mourners once leaned against those trees, fingers tracing bark older than memory, whispering goodbyes that still cling to the wood fibers. And in the east, under soft monsoon rain, the Bodhi tree grows, the descendant of the very fig under which Siddhartha Gautama attained enlightenment. Its heart-shaped leaves flutter like thoughts on the edge of realization. Even today, pilgrims circle it in silence, their prayers rustling with every breeze. Neuroscientists might call meditation a mental practice. Monks would simply point upward and say, "It's what the tree taught us." Here's a quirky tidbit for your sleepy brain in Celtic lore. Each month of the year corresponds to a tree. Birch for renewal, oak for strength, willow for intuition. Druids read these trees like calendars, their bark and leaves encoding lessons for each season. When modern people say they're grounding or centering, they're echoing an idea thousands of years old that roots don't just anchor trees, they anchor souls. Scientists still argue whether our affinity for trees is instinct or culture. Some believe it's biophilia, an evolved attraction to forms that promised survival, shade, fruit, water. Others say it's symbolic, a reflection of our longing for stability in a fleeting life. Personally, I think it's both. The limb you climb as a child, the tree you marry under the one planted for someone you've lost. These aren't coincidences. They're subconscious returns to the same idea that growth and grief share the same language. In West Africa, the baobab is revered as the tree of life, not just for its practical gifts, but for its spiritual ones. People believe spirits rest inside its swollen trunk, watching over villages. Cutting one down is taboo, like silencing an elder mid-sentence. In some tribes, new babies are brought to touch the bark for protection, their names whispered into the grooves, so the tree remembers them long after people forget. There's also the Jomonsugi of Japan, a 2,000-year-old cedar on Yakushima Island. Locals call it sacred. Scientists call it a biological wonder. When typhoons rage, pilgrims still climb to touch it, bowing under dripping branches. Rain slides down the bark like tears, and you can almost feel the mix of science and faith merging. The measurable and the mystical coexisting like twin roots. Now drift farther east into Polynesian legend. The world, they say, began when the god Tain pushed apart his parents' earth and sky, creating space for light and air. To do this, he used his legs as the trunk, his arms as branches, and his head became the canopy of the heavens. Humanity then was born between his roots, not separate from the tree, but part of it. It's a metaphor so elegant, it deserves a Nobel Prize for theology. And if you've ever felt awe looking up through sunlight flickering between leaves, maybe that's why. You're wired to respond. Your brain releases serotonin when you see fractal patterns like those in canopies. Psychologists call it soft fascination, attention that restores rather than drains you. Trees literally calm you on a neurological level. It's science wearing a halo. But faith doesn't stop at old myths. In modern times, people still plant wishing trees covered in notes and ribbons. From Ireland to Indonesia, it's the same impulse to share secrets with something that listens but never interrupts. There's comfort in that silence. Maybe that's why even without belief, standing under an ancient oak still feels like standing in a cathedral. The air thickens, light softens, and for a moment, everything in you, doubts, plans, noise, slows to the tree's pace. You don't need to pray to feel reverence. You just need to look up. Now, before sleep tugs at you completely, let that image settle a world where every tree from city park maple to desert acacia holds not just carbon and chlorophyll, but the weight of centuries of human wonder. You don't have to understand it. You only have to feel it. Because whether you call it Yggdrasil Bodhi or just that old elm on my street, every tree is saying the same quiet thing. You belong here. You stay beneath that spiritual canopy, the myths still echoing softly through your head. But now the air sharpens. The forest smells complicated. Sweet, bitter, spicy, and faintly medicinal all at once. This is chemistry country now, where every breath carries a story of survival disguised as scent. Trees may look serene, but inside they're master chemists, brewing potions to heal, defend, and occasionally poison everything around them. The mainstream science here is elegant and a bit sneaky. Many of the compounds humans use for medicine first came from trees. The bark of the willow gave us salicylic acid, which became aspirin. Nature's headache remedy turned pharmaceutical empire. The yew tree's bark hides Taxol, a chemotherapy drug that slows cancer cell division. And quinine, the first malaria treatment, was discovered in the bitter bark of the cinchona tree. Every step you take through a forest is, chemically speaking, a stroll through a pharmacy that never asks for a prescription. But trees don't make drugs for us. They make them for themselves. The same aspirin-like compounds that ease your fever protect a birch from infection after a storm breaks its branch. The alkaloids that once cured malaria in humans started as a tree's defense against insects. Somewhere between evolution and chemistry, we just happen to overhear the recipe. Of course, some trees take that chemical warfare to Olympic levels. Take the black walnut, which releases juglone into the soil, a compound so toxic it can kill tomatoes and even stunt nearby trees. It's the botanical version of social distancing. And then there's the manchineel native to the Caribbean, sometimes called the tree of death. Every part of it leaves bark fruit sap is poisonous. Even standing beneath it during rain can cause blistering because the sap is acidic enough to burn skin. Columbus's crew once nicknamed its fruit little apples of death. No thank you. Scientists still argue how plants evolved such complex chemical arsenals without central nervous systems. Is it random mutation, or some distributed intelligence across tissues, the debate continues, probably because the trees are keeping their secrets. They don't exactly publish research papers, just perfumed warnings and bitter aftertastes. Now inhale again. The smell of pine resin, that sharp, fresh tang that clears your mind, is actually full of terpenes. Those same molecules that make forests smell clean also sterilize the air by killing microbes. Some studies suggest breathing in pine forest air can lower stress hormones by up to 50%. It's like aromatherapy designed by evolution. You think you're on a hike, the forest thinks it's disinfecting you. And it's not all violence and sterilization. Some tree chemicals are gossip, not gunfire. When attacked by caterpillars, a maple might emit volatile compounds that drift downwind to warn others. Within hours, its neighbors crank up production of tannins, caffeine, or cyanide precursors to make their leaves taste awful. That's right, trees sometimes weaponize caffeine. Coffee, it turns out, started as bug repellent. Humans just turned it into productivity fuel. Let's detour to the eucalyptus groves of Australia, where you can smell the chemistry before you see it. Those essential oils shimmer as vapor in hot air, so flammable they can create blue haze and even feed forest fires. Yet, after the flames, new shoots burst from scorched bark within days. Fire doesn't kill eucalyptus, it renews it. A brilliant, if slightly dramatic way to manage population density. Then there's cinnamon, one of humanity's favorite spices. The warm, sweet scent that fills your kitchen during winter holidays began as a defense mechanism in tropical laurel trees. The compound cinnamaldehyde discourages insects and fungi. But to your brain, it smells like comfort. Evolution created a pesticide, and humans turned it into nostalgia. Somewhere deeper in the forest, other trees run subtler chemistries. The camphor tree releases vapors that open lungs. Sandalwood exudes oils used in rituals and perfumes. Frankincense trees bleed aromatic resin that once cost more than gold. People traveled deserts for it, built temples with it, prayed beside its smoke. Trees, meanwhile, just kept leaking resin to seal wounds. And here's a quirky tidbit that'll probably stay in your brain longer than you intend. Banana trees aren't trees at all, they're giant herbs. But they still pull chemical tricks worthy of oaks. Their trunks are layers of leaf bases packed tight, secreting compounds that repel nematodes. Botanists sometimes joke that bananas are the overachieving cousins in the tree family reunion. Technically not invited, but too useful to turn away. Scientists still argue over one enduring question: do trees choose their chemical responses? Some species produce different defense molecules depending on which insect attacks, almost like identifying the enemy before loading the right weapon. Is that intelligence or just chemistry on autopilot? No one knows. But if it's instinct, it's astonishingly accurate. Now look up again in your imagination. The wind stirs a cedar's branches, and the scent hits you like a low sigh, wood smoke, a hint of sweetness. That fragrance, loved by carpenters and monks alike, comes from thujaplikin's compounds that resist decay so powerfully that cedar chests can last for centuries without rotting. You could almost call it a molecular prayer for permanence. The forest, it turns out, isn't silent at all. It speaks in smells, and each one carries meaning, comfort, warning, seduction, or medicine. You just have to tune your senses beyond language. Picture yourself walking now through a damp grove after rain. Each droplet releases a little chemical ghost from the bark, pine, oak, spruce, sandalwood. The air is thick with biochemistry, yet you feel calm, cleansed. That's the paradox of trees. They fight constant chemical wars, yet somehow they make peace look effortless. As you lie back once more, surrounded by invisible fragrances, think of how many molecules are drifting between you and the forest. Oxygen, terpenes, aerosols, all blending into the night air. You're literally breathing the conversation trees have with the planet, taking in their warnings, their perfumes, their sighs, and turning them into dreams. The forest air feels thick with mystery now. Fragrant, alive, almost architectural. You've wandered through its chemistry. Now it's time to explore its craftsmanship. Because trees don't just build themselves. They build worlds. Whole structures, homes, and bridges shaped from patience instead of steel. Tonight, you'll drift through the living architecture of trees, buildings that grow, walls that breathe, and staircases of roots that never stop expanding. Let's start with something that sounds like a fairy tale, but isn't. The living root bridges of Meghalaya, India. For centuries, the Khasi and Jaintia people have guided the roots of rubber fig trees, Ficus elastica, across rivers, coaxing them over bamboo scaffolds until they naturally intertwine. It takes decades to finish a bridge, but once grown, it lasts for centuries. The mainstream science here is both humble and astonishing. These bridges are alive, continually strengthening themselves as the tree grows thicker. When modern engineers study them, they find that they distribute weight dynamically, adjusting to wind and rain, better than most man-made structures. Living architecture that heals its own cracks. You can imagine walking across one now. The roots, warm under your bare feet, leaves whispering overhead the sound of water below. No nails, no bolts, just time and trust. Each step feels like walking through patience itself. Elsewhere in the world, humans have been apprenticing under trees for millennia. In Africa's Sahel region, farmers prune trees into shapes that shield crops from harsh wind, creating natural air filters and shade corridors. In Japan, the art of daisugi turns cedar trees into renewable mother trunks that sprout straight poles like vertical bamboo. Forestry as sculpture. The technique dates back to the 14th century when space was scarce and sustainability was necessity. It's still practiced today, producing wood as flawless as factory extrusion, but grown by hand and weather. Here's a quirky tidbit. In the 1800s, a German gardener named Axel Erlandsen created a tree circus, bending sycamores and box elders into ladders, spirals, and chairs. He called it arbor sculpture. It became a roadside attraction where travelers would gasp at heart-shaped trunks and interwoven arches. When asked how he did it, Erlandsen simply said, "I talk to them." Scientists still argue whether mechanical bending alone could explain the precision of his shapes. Maybe trees respond better to patience than pressure. Now shift the scene. Picture a village built around a giant tree, not beside it. In West Africa, people gather under the shade of baobabs for council meetings, weddings, even markets. The tree isn't an ornament. It's the center of civic life. Its hollow trunk might house grain or serve as a cool refuge from desert heat. Some are so wide that entire families live inside walls, breathing gently through the wood. It's not metaphor. It's architecture that photosynthesizes. And you've seen hints of this too without noticing. Tree houses suspended in tropical forests, wooden walkways winding through mangroves, eco-lodges built into banyan roots. All mimic nature's scaffolding. Engineers now study how trees grow load-bearing shapes using reaction wood, the special tissue that thickens where stress is greatest. Robots are being trained to guide saplings into structures, creating bio-buildings that grow themselves. It's early experimental, but the dream is alive cities that sprout rather than sprawl. Still, the forest itself has been building long before humans showed up with blueprints. Termite mounds rise beside acacias, using them as shade columns. Strangler figs build entire cathedrals of roots around their hosts, hollowing them out until only a lattice remains. You can step inside one of those strangler fig towers in Thailand and see the sky framed perfectly through ribbed wooden arches. Nature's Gothic architecture designed without an architect. Here's another scientific curiosity: some trees literally grow to fit their surroundings, altering angles and thickness based on mechanical feedback. It's called thigmomorphogenesis, a long word meaning I respond to touch. Push against a sapling gently every day, and it will grow stronger bark and deeper roots. Like resistance training for plants. Engineers are copying that principle to design skyscrapers that adapt to wind stress dynamically. You could call it tree logic. One of the oldest examples of tree-based construction still stands in India's Thimama Maramanu, where a single banyan covers over 4 acres, supported by more than 1,000 prop roots. It's less a tree and more a living colonnade, a green palace that expands each decade without end. Visitors walk among its roots like pilgrims moving through a living cathedral. When the wind blows, the branches sway in harmony, each one tuned to absorb stress, like the architectural equivalent of a choir. Scientists still argue about what counts as architecture. Does it require intention, or is form enough? When a beaver builds a dam, we call it engineering. When a tree creates perfect aerodynamic branching to catch sunlight, we call it instinct. Maybe those words just reveal how little credit we give to patience. Here's something you might not expect: trees shape sound the way walls do. Forest acoustics change depending on trunk density and leaf shape. Some forests amplify bird calls, others muffle them into a soft hush. Architects have begun to model building interiors after these natural soundscapes, copying how canopies diffuse noise without echo. If you've ever sat in a wooden concert hall and felt its warmth, you've already heard a tree's design philosophy in action. And speaking of concert halls, one of the most expensive violins ever made, a Stradivarius, owes its tone to a tree. The spruce used for its body grew during the Little Ice Age, when colder climates made wood denser and more uniform. That density shaped sound waves into the violin's haunting clarity. So yes, even your favorite symphony is technically forest architecture set to music. Now picture this: centuries from now, someone finds the ruins of our steel cities overtaken by roots and moss. A vine threads through a window frame branches, collapse a roof, and sunlight filters through what used to be concrete. It won't be destruction. It'll be reclamation. The planet rebuilding itself one root at a time, growing its own cathedral again. So as you close your eyes, imagine lying beneath a living bridge. The air damp and cool water rushing below the slow pulse of growth above. The roots that hold you aren't built. They're becoming. The world keeps building quietly, endlessly, whether you're awake or not. You linger under that living bridge, lulled by the sound of water below and the creak of roots above when you start to notice. No tree is ever truly alone. Every branch hums with guests, every trunk teems with tenants. You've entered the forest's shared economy where life trades favors across species lines, and survival depends on friendship as much as sunlight. Tonight, you'll drift through the symbiotic partnerships that turn a simple forest into an interstellar network of cooperation. The mainstream fact here is beautifully straightforward. Most trees can't live without their partners. Over 90% of them rely on mycorrhizal fungi to absorb nutrients. These fungi act like underground brokers, wrapping around roots and extending fine filaments that dig into the soil far beyond what roots alone could reach. They bring back phosphorus, nitrogen, and water, and in return the tree pays in sugar. It's a barter system older than mammals. You could call it capitalism, but it's more generous than that. Look closer. Each tiny filament thinner than a human hair carries chemical signals. A birch sends carbon to a struggling fir through fungal highways. When one tree falls, its stored sugars can travel underground to keep neighbors alive. Scientists call these older resource-sharing trees mother trees. They don't just nurture seedlings of their own species. They sometimes feed strangers. The forest, it turns out, has welfare programs. But fungi aren't the only allies in this leafy federation. Some trees team up with animals. Picture the African whistling thorn acacia, which grows hollow thorns perfect for housing ants. The ants defend the tree, attacking any grazing animal that tries to eat its leaves. In exchange, the tree provides nectar at the base of each thorn, a tiny, perpetual buffet. The relationship is so tight that if the ants disappear, the tree becomes vulnerable within weeks. Mutualism at its finest, free security, zero payroll. Now imagine traveling halfway across the planet to the rainforests of Central America, where the Cecropia tree forms alliances with Azteca ants. The ants patrol the branches like bodyguards, while the tree supplies them with tiny protein snacks called Mlarian bodies. Scientists discovered that when a herbivore bites the leaves, the tree releases alarm pheromones that summon its ant army within seconds. It's as if the plant has an invisible defense hotline. Here's a quirky tidbit for your drowsy brain. In some Amazonian forests, bats pollinate trees that bloom only at night. Those flowers open just after dusk, releasing musky, fermented scents that guide bats with radar-like precision. The bats feed on nectar, spreading pollen miles away. Without them, certain trees would vanish. So yes, when you see a bat flapping under moonlight, it's not just looking for insects. It's moonlighting as a delivery driver for evolution. Symbiosis can get weird too. There's a species of fig whose fruit can only develop if a specific wasp lays its eggs inside the flower. The larvae mature, mate, and die all inside the tiny chamber, while the fig ripens above them. You may have eaten one. Its fine nature composts the wasp before you get to the snack. Scientists still argue whether to call this harmony or hostage-taking. But it works, and it's been working for 80 million years. Other partnerships are microscopic yet monumental. Cyanobacteria live inside the bark of some tropical trees, fixing nitrogen directly from the air. Lichens, a fusion of fungus and algae, grow on trunks, absorbing moisture and making nutrients available for moss and seedlings. Even the humble woodpecker contributes drilling cavities that later house owls, squirrels, and bees. Every creature that touches a tree leaves an architectural gift for the next. The deeper you look, the more the forest resembles a social network, except it doesn't crash every few months. The transactions are slow but fair. Take the mangrove forests again. Those tangled root systems harbor shrimp crabs and juvenile fish. Each creature finds shelter there, fertilizing the soil with waste. When tides shift, the entire ecosystem moves together, like a living tide pool that breathes twice a day. But not all partnerships are peace treaties. Some are complicated. Mistletoe, for instance, is a hemiparasite, a plant that attaches to a host tree and siphons water and nutrients, yet still photosynthesizes on its own. It's half roommate, half freeloader. Still, mistletoe berries feed birds, and their sticky seeds spread through droppings, helping reforest open areas. Parasitism, with benefits nature's version of "it's complicated." Here's a fringe hypothesis that scientists whisper about trees might deliberately support fungal diversity, even when some fungi take more than they give. It's a stability strategy. By feeding multiple fungal partners, trees ensure backup channels in case one species dies off. It's not generosity, it's insurance. Forests apparently invented redundancy long before data servers did. Take another step deeper into your imagination. You're lying at the base of a massive kapok tree in the Amazon. Its roots rise like walls covered in bromeliads that hold pools of rainwater. Tiny frogs lay eggs inside those pools. Dragonflies skim the surface. Each root crack shelters beetles, moss, and fungi, feeding, breathing, cleaning. The kapok isn't one organism, it's thousands merged into one identity. You can't tell where the tree ends and the community begins. Humans, too, have borrowed from these relationships. Traditional farmers plant shade-grown coffee beneath canopies of nitrogen-fixing trees, mimicking natural partnerships. Modern scientists study this concept under a big-term agroforestry farming modeled after forest cooperation. It produces higher yields, richer soil, and more biodiversity. You could say it's humanity finally copying nature's homework correctly. Even in urban settings, partnerships thrive. Street trees host lichens that monitor air pollution levels. Birds disperse seeds into cracks where new saplings sprout. Microbes coat roots, digesting pollutants before they reach groundwater. You might call it the city's silent cleanup crew. So as you breathe, remember, every tree is a chorus, not a solo. Its trunk is filled with guests. Its leaves feed invisible neighbors. Its roots whisper to fungi and worms. No part of it exists in isolation, and no part of you does either. The forest is an endless web of borrowed strength. Proof that survival isn't about competition, but connection. As you close your eyes, the thought sinks in like soft rain into soil. Maybe the reason trees live so long is because they learned something we haven't, how to share the world without owning it. The forest begins to stir with color now. Not imagined light, but the real shifting palette that comes with time. You're still beneath the same canopy, yet the world around you glows differently. The green deepens, then fades, then burns with impossible oranges and reds. You're watching time paint its slow masterpiece. Trees, after all, invented seasons. The mainstream fact here is poetic science. Color change isn't a death rattle, it's precision biochemistry. As daylight shortens and temperatures drop, trees begin chlorophyll resorption, drawing the green pigment back into their cells to conserve nitrogen and magnesium for next year's growth. Beneath that green veil lie carotenoids, yellows and oranges, and anthocyanins, reds and purples. They were always there, hidden like secrets under a smile. Fall doesn't create color, it reveals it. But here's the twist. No two species reveal it the same way. Sugar maples turn brilliant scarlet because trapped sugars react in sunlight to form anthocyanins. Aspen leaves shimmer gold, their flat petioles quivering like coins in wind. Oaks go for subtlety, turning rust brown and hanging on long after others have fallen. Stubborn old souls refusing to let go. You can almost imagine each tree as a personality type. The show-offs, the philosophers, the ones who leave the party gracefully. Scientists still argue over why trees bother to produce red pigments at all. Some say it's sunscreen protecting leaves from excess light during chlorophyll breakdown. Others think it's a warning to pests, an evolutionary bluff. I'm toxic, don't bite me. Maybe it's both. Maybe, as with all of nature's mysteries, function and beauty are the same thing viewed from different sides. And then winter comes. The chlorophyll retreats, sap slows to a crawl, and trees slip into dormancy, a kind of cold meditation. Beneath the bark, water thickens into syrupy antifreeze, preventing ice crystals from shredding cells. Buds form protective scales like tiny armored helmets waiting for warmth. The tree doesn't sleep exactly. It dreams. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some species like willows and poplars can sense changes in day length down to a few minutes. Even if you move them across the globe, their inner clocks keep ticking on their home schedule for a while, like travelers fighting jet lag. Scientists call this photoperiodism, but it's really just memory written in light. Now picture spring arriving in slow motion. A faint pulse stirs beneath the soil. The sap rises, literally. When the first warm days hit, pressure builds inside maple trunks, pushing sugary fluid upward with enough force to make taps run like tiny fountains. That sap will become syrup, but for the tree, it's fuel for resurrection. You could say the forest runs on sweetness. And somewhere between those transitions, between freezing and thawing, between green and gold, you start to sense the clockwork elegance of it all. Leaves aren't decorations. They're calendars. A birch shedding early warns of drought. An oak holding its leaves too long whispers of a late winter. To those who listen, forests tell time better than any watch. The rhythm goes deeper still. Trees track lunar cycles, adjusting water flow with gravitational pull. They even react to solar storms. Subtle electromagnetic shifts can change the rate of sap ascent. Scientists still debate how far this sensitivity extends, whether it's simple physics or a kind of environmental awareness. Maybe trees don't just live in time. They feel it. Imagine standing under an autumn canopy just before dusk. The light filtered through reds and ambers until it feels like you're standing inside a lantern. Every gust sends a confetti of leaves swirling down millions of silent parachutes. Each one in its last descent is carrying away toxins, balancing the tree's chemistry for next spring. Dying beautifully, dying usefully. There's something noble about that kind of efficiency. Now zoom in on a single leaf tumbling toward the forest floor. The moment it lands, fungi and bacteria begin to decompose it, turning it into humus, the dark, rich foundation of soil. Within months, the atoms that once shimmered in sunlight are feeding roots again. Death recycled into life. A continuous conversation between falling and growing. And of course, not all trees read the same seasonal script. Tropical species don't have dramatic autumns. Their seasons are measured in rain and drought, not frost. When monsoons arrive, forests explode into bloom overnight, releasing clouds of pollen so dense they paint the sky yellow. It's chaos dressed as choreography. The whole forest breathes in rhythm with weather, not calendar. There's another layer to this symphony of time hormones. Trees use compounds like auxins, gibberellins, and abscisic acid to control leaf growth, dormancy, and flowering. It's It's an internal chemical parliament where no one shouts, but every vote counts. When one hormone signals, "Drop the leaves," another whispers, "Not yet." The result is balance, a biological negotiation that plays out billions of times each year. Here's a detail to tuck in your pocket. If you stand in a forest during late fall and listen carefully, you can sometimes hear faint pops and crackles. That's the sound of water shifting inside trunks as temperatures fluctuate. A microscopic percussion section announcing the change of season. Now, as you breathe, imagine all of that happening around you, the colors fading, the roots sleeping, the frost building lacework on every twig. The forest doesn't resist change, it leans into it. Maybe that's why it always feels peaceful here. Nothing clings, everything transforms. And when the first snow falls, blanketing the world in silence, trees stand patient and still, collecting light in frozen prisms along their branches. To them, winter isn't an ending. It's rehearsal. Beneath the bark, the next year's buds are already waiting, coiled like tiny fists, ready to open again when the time is right. So let that rhythm wash through you now. The inhale of spring, the heartbeat of summer, the slow exhale of fall, the stillness of winter. You're part of the same cycle, even if you move faster. The forest is just showing you the long version of your own pulse. You open your eyes again, and the forest is no longer still. A distant rumble shivers through the ground, thunder maybe, or something older. The air thickens with a scent of smoke and rain. Tonight, you'll wander through the chaos that keeps the forest alive, fire, windstorms, and rebirth. Because trees don't just endure destruction, they use it. The mainstream fact here is quietly revolutionary. Some trees need disaster to reproduce. The cones of certain pines, like the lodgepole and jack pine, only open when exposed to temperatures above 120 C 248 F. The resin sealing them melts during forest fires, releasing seeds onto newly cleared soil rich with ash. It's evolution's version of a phoenix story. Without flames, these forests would fade. Fire isn't their enemy, it's their midwife. Imagine standing there as flames lick through underbrush. The sound isn't violent, it's strangely rhythmic, a low crackle punctuated by sighs of steam. The heat rises, leaves curl, bark blackens. But beneath the surface, life waits. Within weeks, new shoots sprout from roots, nourished by minerals released in the burn. Even the smell of char carries potential. The forest's perfume of renewal. Some trees even plan for it. The Australian eucalyptus stores volatile oils that practically invite fire. When flames pass, its thick bark peels away like old wallpaper, revealing fresh green shoots beneath. It's as if the tree were saying, "Let's clean house." In California, giant sequoias rely on fire too. Their cones are glued shut by resin that only softens in heat. The flames clear away competing shade, opening the canopy, so young sequoias can finally see the sky. Destruction as opportunity. Here's a quirky tidbit that might make you smile in the dark. The smell of campfire that humans find so comforting is partly the same set of compounds released by burning wood in wildfires, phenols, and guaiacols. In some deep evolutionary corner of your brain, that scent means safety, warmth, survival. You love it because your ancestors learned that where trees burned, soil grew fertile again. And then there are storms, the sky's way of pruning. Lightning strikes trees around 8 million times a day across the planet. Most strikes don't kill. They carve scars that heal over in years, creating spiral grooves in bark. Those twists actually strengthen the trunk, dispersing stress like natural rebar. Scientists still debate whether trees can sense static buildup and redistribute water to reduce the risk of being struck. Some evidence says yes, they may ground themselves through their roots when storms approach. The forest's quiet thunder etiquette. Wind too shapes destiny. Trees raised in constant breeze grow shorter and thicker, their rings denser, their roots anchored deep. Botanists call this wind stress acclimation. You might call it resilience training. Bonsai artists mimic it by wiring branches to create graceful tension centuries of wind captured in miniature. Now picture a hurricane moving over a mangrove forest. Waves crash, branches bend, but they rarely break. Those tangled roots disperse the energy of tides, protecting coastlines and villages. After the storm, the water recedes, and the forest stands again, muddy, battered, but upright. Every twist in a mangrove root is an equation solved against gravity and chaos. There's a strange paradox here. Trees that grow in perfectly stable environments often end up weak. Without stress, they never develop the fibers or root depth needed to survive. Scientists see the same pattern in lab-grown saplings. They grow taller, faster, but collapse at the first strong gust. It's almost philosophical. Strength requires disturbance. You could say trees have perfected the art of constructive suffering. Fire, wind, and lightning aren't the only sculptors. Floods too reshape forests. In the Amazon, some trees spend half the year underwater. Their bark becomes spongy oxygen pockets, form inside roots, and branches tilt upward to escape drowning. When the flood recedes, they drop fruit into the still water, letting fish carry their seeds miles away. You can almost hear the trees sigh with relief. That was close, then quietly prepare for the next one. Here's a fringe theory that feels almost romantic. Some ecologists suggest trees evolved to remember disturbance patterns through chemical signals in their roots. A forest burned once might regrow faster the next time, as if anticipation itself became a genetic trait. It's not memory as you know it, but it's memory nonetheless, the earth learning through repetition. And humans, of course, have borrowed from that lesson. Controlled burns, windbreak rows, floodplain forests all mimic natural destruction to sustain balance. We call it management. Trees just call it Tuesday. As the rain begins to fall in your imagination, you can smell ozone and wet bark, hear leaves trembling like applause. The first drops turn ash to clay coating seeds that only exist because of the fire before. A few miles away, a sapling bends beneath wind, then rights itself with quiet determination. The forest doesn't curse the storm, it collaborates with it. Think back to the bristlecone pines, the sequoias, the mangroves. Their survival isn't stubbornness, it's choreography. A dance with fire and wind that's been rehearsed for eons. When disaster comes, they don't panic. They adapt instantly. Their strength isn't defiance, it's flexibility. And maybe that's the soft lesson waiting in all this smoke and thunder. Life doesn't protect itself by avoiding chaos. It grows around it, through it, because of it. Trees learned long ago what humans keep forgetting, that breaking and regrowing are the same process viewed from different distances. Now, as the storm fades and the forest steams with the smell of wet ash, everything around you glows faintly gold. The sun cuts through light, bouncing off droplets like shards of stained glass. You lie there watching steam rise from the ground where fire once roared, and realize the forest isn't recovering. it's reinventing itself. The storm smoke clears, leaving behind the scent of renewal and wet bark. You breathe it in deeper this time, and somewhere between the inhale and exhale, another realization takes root. The forest isn't just recovering from disaster, it's evolving toward the future. Every fallen branch, every seedling pushing through ash, every lab experiment growing trees under LED light. They're all pieces of a conversation between what nature built and what humanity is trying to rebuild. Tonight, you wander through those future forests, the ones we're shaping and the ones shaping us back. The mainstream fact is, ambitious global reforestation efforts could remove up to 1/3 of the carbon dioxide that humans have emitted since the Industrial Revolution, if managed correctly. But it's not as simple as planting trees and calling it a day. Different species capture carbon at different rates, and young forests don't store as much as old ones. The magic lies in diversity, mixing species ages and ecosystems to create forests that adapt themselves. Nature, it seems, has no patience for monocultures. You imagine drones buzzing above barren hillsides, dropping seed pods that burst open on impact, each one carrying soil microbes and a future in miniature. In deserts, scientists are testing genetically edited saplings designed to survive with half the water. Elsewhere, carbon capture super trees, engineered to grow faster, denser, tougher, are being modeled on eucalyptus and bamboo. Humanity is trying to match the efficiency of evolution on a deadline. And yet the irony is delicious. For all our algorithms and laboratories, the trees still know more about balance than we do. Forests don't hoard carbon endlessly, they trade it. They breathe in, they breathe out. If we overplant without restoring soil, fungi, or animal life, we just create wooden deserts. Scientists still argue about how much of nature we can engineer before it stops being nature at all. Maybe the future isn't about replacing forests. It's about remembering how to collaborate with them. Here's a quirky tidbit that sounds like science fiction, but isn't. Researchers have begun experimenting with bioluminescent trees, genetically modified to glow faintly at night, potentially replacing streetlights. The light comes from genes borrowed from fireflies and algae. Early prototypes flicker like green candles in lab greenhouses. Imagine walking through a park where the lamps breathe, where the glow moves with the wind. Maybe someday soon, night itself will photosynthesize. But not all the future is technological. In Northern Europe, ghost forests are emerging. Once thriving pine stands, now bleached white by rising seas and salt intrusion. It's eerie and beautiful in the saddest way. Dead trunks stand like bones in shallow water, reminding us that the planet is changing faster than many species can adapt. Still, nature doesn't waste even that. Birds nest in hollowed stumps, algae bloom across the bark, and decay gives birth to new life. The forest keeps pivoting long after we think it's lost. Meanwhile, in Iceland, scientists are reviving ancient birch ecosystems wiped out by human settlement 1,000 years ago. They're using DNA from fossilized pollen to match species to their original climate zones. Genetic archaeology with a hopeful twist. It's as if the planet is quietly pressing undo. Then there's cloning, controversial, surreal, but very real. Researchers have grown new redwoods and American chestnuts from the DNA of trees long dead. A company called Archangel Ancient Tree Archive calls its project genetic time travel. They propagate cuttings from ancient champions, to restore forests with the exact genes that once thrived centuries ago. You can almost picture it, a grove of resurrected elders standing under neon sky, confused but dignified. Scientists still argue if clone diversity counts as true biodiversity, but maybe at least it's an apology. And in cities, the relationship is becoming personal. Smart forests are being planted, wired with moisture sensors, carbon monitors, even microphones that record bird calls and leaf rustle to track ecosystem health. The data is streamed live to dashboards and apps. One urban forester joked, "It's like Instagram for trees. You can check on your local oak's hydration levels while sipping coffee across town." A strange new intimacy between human and trunk. The real marvel, though, is that we're finally realizing how forests fit into the planetary machine. They don't just make oxygen, they regulate rainfall. Amazon trees release so much water vapor, they create their own weather systems. Cut enough of them and the clouds themselves retreat. It's not poetic metaphor, it's verified climatology. Every tree is a unit of atmospheric engineering, and the forest fights back even against us. In abandoned towns like those near Chernobyl, radiation twisted life but didn't erase it. Pines and birches moved in, fungi mutated to absorb cesium, and wolves roam again among glowing moss. The forest, glowing faintly and humming with life, reminds us that extinction is rarely as permanent as arrogance. Here's a fringe debate you might enjoy. Some futurists dream of terraforming Mars with trees, genetically engineered species that can survive thin air and red dust. NASA has tested hybrid poplars in CO2 chambers to see how they'd handle the atmosphere. The results promising, at least until someone pointed out the small issue of no liquid water. Still, you can imagine it, a grove of silver pines waving under a pink Martian dawn, oxygen slowly seeping into a newborn sky. Back on Earth, biologists talk about the tree of life, not as metaphor, but as a literal map of evolution, every organism, including you, as one branch of a sprawling, interconnected code. From that perspective, planting trees isn't charity, it's self-preservation. You're just helping your extended family photosynthesize. So as the world's scientists clone code and reforest, maybe the lesson remains simple. The trees don't rush, they don't panic. They keep scaling their quiet algorithm of light, air, and patience. You, by contrast, measure time in emails and deadlines. Maybe the future forest won't look like a jungle or a park. Maybe it'll look like us finally slowing down enough to grow at the right speed. As you lie there now, the air feels warmer, cleaner. Somewhere nearby, a seed pod bursts open with a soft pop. A drone hums faintly in the distance, dropping life like confetti. The earth exhales. You realize the future isn't something to wait for. It's already rooting quietly beneath your feet. The air has gone still again. The fires are only memories now. The floods have drained back into the soil, and the world feels washed clean. You're lying beneath a canopy that hums with quiet energy. Every leaf above you holds a tiny echo of sunlight, and every root below you is whispering to the dark. You've reached the slow heartbeat of the earth, the place where all noise dissolves and only time remains. The mainstream fact here is almost unbelievable in its simplicity. Trees pulse. Not metaphorically, but physically. Using satellite-mounted lasers, scientists have measured entire forests, subtly expanding and contracting each day. Swelling during the night as they draw water upward, shrinking slightly by day as they exhale moisture. It's an invisible breath, that moves slower than any heartbeat you've ever known, yet it never stops. You're lying on a living chest that rises and falls once every 24 hours. Up here under the moon, that rhythm feels tangible. The leaves rustle like 1,000 slow metronomes, keeping time with the stars. Somewhere sap is creeping upward at the speed of thought, millimeters per minute, carrying minerals from roots older than civilization. It's impossible not to feel small, but it's the good kind of small. The kind that reminds you you're part of something patient. Scientists still argue what defines a single tree's age. Is it the root network, the cells still dividing the genes that continue cycling long after the visible trunk dies? But the forest doesn't bother answering. It just keeps breathing, neither beginning nor ending. Life here loops back into itself with the calm of a tide that knows the shore will always return. Somewhere in this night, a seed drops. Maybe from a pine cone cracked by fire, maybe from a bird's careless beak. It falls through air soft as sleep lands in the humus, built by centuries of fallen leaves, and begins the quiet miracle of germination. The forest doesn't celebrate, it simply adjusts. One new pulse added to the chorus. You imagine for a moment what that seed's first sensation must be. Darkness pressure, the faint rhythm of rain tapping above. No rush, no fear. Just potential curled tight in the soil. That same stillness hums in you too. Beneath the rushing thoughts and lights of modern life, your cells still follow the same biochemical rhythm, growing, repairing, resting, in perfect sync with the ancient code trees have been running for 400 million years. Here's one last quirky thought before the world blurs into dream trees have been on this planet long enough to witness continents drift. When the first forests formed dragonflies, the size of hawks buzzed through the air. Dinosaurs came, admired them briefly, and vanished. Humans arrived, built ships from their trunks, burned them for warmth, carved their names into bark, and then, occasionally, looked up in wonder. Through it all, the trees stayed. They don't rush to forgive, but they never stop giving. Now the forest's breath deepens. You can almost hear the moisture settling back into roots, the soil cooling, the insects lowering their songs. The moon filters through the branches in soft silver stripes, and everything slows. The wind, your heartbeat, even thought itself. Let yourself sink into that rhythm. Feel how every inhale pulls in the planet's patience, and every exhale releases the day's noise. The ground beneath you isn't ground anymore. It's memory millions of years thick, holding you steady while you drift toward rest. If you listen closely, the silence begins to sound like something, the faint creak of trunks expanding in the night, the whisper of sap moving in hidden veins, the smallest reminder that life never truly sleeps. It just changes tempo. So as you close your eyes, imagine that every tree on earth is breathing with you. From the mangroves in saltwater bays to the redwoods above the fog, from the lone birch outside your window to the invisible seedlings that will outlive you. All of them inhale and exhale together, keeping the planet's pulse steady. The forest will still be here in the morning, growing, remembering, waiting. You don't need to do anything now. Just breathe. Let the world hold you the way roots hold rain. Sleepy is coming, gentle as leaf fall. The heartbeat beneath you steadies, and for a long, quiet moment, you and the earth exhale as one. And now the forest fades into soft focus. The air grows cooler, and the hum beneath you drifts into silence. You can almost hear the stars turning overhead, each one a quiet spark in the long rhythm of time. The leaves above no longer rustle. They sigh. The roots below settle deeper into the soil, anchoring everything that still moves too fast. You are safe here. The world doesn't need anything from you tonight. Not words, not effort, not thought. Every breath you take is borrowed light, returned gently to the trees that made it. They'll keep watch while you rest, filtering the air, counting the seconds, trading whispers through the soil. Somewhere a drop of water is beginning its slow descent from canopy to earth. Somewhere else a seed is splitting open. Both moments happen in silence, and both are enough to keep the planet alive. Let that image rest in your mind, and the earth turning slowly, trees swaying in perfect time, you breathing with them. The noise of the day fades like distant thunder. You don't need to chase sleep. It's already here, weaving through the air like mist. So loosen your thoughts. Let them drift like leaves in slow water. The world has been breathing long before you arrived, and it will still be breathing long after. Calm, steady, patient. You are part of that rhythm now. Good night, dreamer.